Okay. This one, is it on? Okay.
All right. I haven't really come up with a name for this podcast in general. I don't know if you all have any like suggestions. Probably like on the couch with Chara or something like that is what I was thinking. But it's pretty lame. I'll probably get down to the first question that not question per se, but a sort of understanding that I wanted to get from you, Bhaktha. I'll start with Bhaktha and then go to you, Maha, and then come to you, Amit. So you were doing great in EasyTap. You were the CTO over there. The business was booming as well. Um, and I choose to believe that most of your work was around the software and hardware sort of departments, right? So why did you, or what made you take the step, or why did you choose to sort of start Chara, which is completely like different from the sort of industry that you were working in, and why specifically motors and controllers, and why specifically EV segment in that case is what I wanted to understand from you.
Yeah. Uh, so at EasyTap, we built this country's first and only point of sale terminal, fully designed and manufactured and deployed all over India and outside India. We built the what is usually called as the MPOS, which is mobile point of sale terminal, which needs a phone for the UX and the communication, as opposed to an existing POS machine, which is all built in. So there was a lot of interest and hype around this MPOS, primarily led by Square in the US. Then there are three things that happened in India which led to the decision which you're alluding to. One is the MPOS format did not take off anywhere in the world. There was initial push, then the MPOS did not take off. Standalone point of sale devices continue to rule because it's mainly UX. What we realized was it is mainly usability issues. So if I'm a merchant, I have a phone, I have this MPOS, but sometimes I use the phone. Not sometimes, a lot of times I use the phone for other use cases, and that time I can't do a transaction. Or lot of businesses, the main phone, which is the owner of the business establishment, that is a phone authorized to do a transaction, but he goes somewhere else and he can't do it. So because of all these things, the MPOS has not taken off. There was initial hype, but then now people are back to the standalone point of sale terminals, fully contained. Everything is contained, and they have become Android too. So we can do the apps and everything. So that trend happened, and the MPOS thing disappeared. Number two is, at least in India, deviceless transactions. That means you don't need a device to do a transaction; just your phone is enough, which is basically QR code. Uh, they dominated the ecosystem. So the need for a machine has become less and less. So before whatever 5-6 years ago, before UPI became popular, if you want to accept digital transactions as a merchant, the only option was to have a point of sale terminal authorized by Visa, and it's very complicated. Now nothing. You just have a QR code and done. And this QR code is rainproof, waterproof, everything. And if it goes bad, throw another one, get another one. So that was number two. Number three is the volume for POS terminals in India is not that high. So we cannot get the manufacturing scale advantages, and that's what led to the cost increases for a device manufactured in India, for a product manufactured in India. So we looked at all these things and said, you know what, it's no longer a good idea to do manufacturing. EasyTap was initially both a hardware and a software company, and it worked really well for the first 5 years. And I think for the subsequent 5 years, the hardware became less important, and that was the right thing to do. And that's why we moved away from hardware in EasyTap, and then I decided to do something else. And I do have a hardware background and embedded firmware, and I personally looked at three large markets. One was crypto, and I think crypto is still a work in progress. And it continues to be. I think a business case for crypto is still hard. Number two, I looked at medical devices, given my background. Medical devices have a long approval period, and I think there is a lot of vested interests. Um, the third one is we then I joined with Maha and Ravi, and what we realized was there is a large energy transition that is happening in this planet. We are moving away from hydrocarbons to electrons for our source of energy, mainly because of the negative externalities on climate because of the hydrocarbons. And so, um, and there is also a big push on efficiency. We need more efficient motors, and that is when we realized that the story in India again, India specific, it was lacking in three respects. One is that all efficient motors need the rare earth based magnets, and we don't have them, and our neighboring country has 90% control over this supply chain, which is true for all countries. And number two is we still don't design motors and controllers from first principles. We're still dependent on foreign technology or foreign products. And the last one is, of course, the cost. We need to drive down the cost. India is a cost conscious economy, and that's so we did all the research and ended up in choosing building the next gen motor, which is rare earth free, which is efficient, which is green, carbon footprint is low, and potentially cheaper in the long run.
Got it. Did you ever like think of getting into the semiconductor or designing the
Or batteries? Yeah, that's the most often used asked question. So both have one thing in common: semiconductors and batteries. Both are billion-dollar problems. Yeah, we need $1 billion to put up a fab. Um, and given my background and my thinking, I don't think I would never have the capacity to do that. It is still, I think it's a much harder problem. You need a large corporation uh, with a lot of capital and influence to start a semiconductor fabrication facility or a battery fabrication facility. The other thing common between these two technologies is, again, we don't have experience as a country, as a society, right? We are not built semiconductors, we are not built batteries in any meaningful fashion. I know there have been some minor um areas of activity. So that is one more problem. We don't have the know-how. I mean, we have spoken to people, and it is still a very hard problem. I mean, it's a hard problem for many countries, and it's harder definitely for us. So that's why we thought technology for both Maha, Ravi, and me. We are we like to think we are technologists. We are, I think. So we wanted to solve a technology problem, but we also wanted to have a wider and deeper impact. And whatever we embarked on takes a long time, and it has taken almost 4 years to get to the product shipping stage, and that's where we are. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll quickly switch gears to you, Maha, and I think it's a perfect segue that you were mentioning that you Bhaktha and Ravi got together to basically get this dream of reluctance and like magnetic motors to life. But going a little back in time, right? You had a great career. And from my perspective, you had a very high-paying job as well, and you probably even had the ability to settle down, right? Um, um, Looking at your career as a whole. So, why did you choose to take the risk that comes up associates with usually starting a new venture along with the people that you know from the past as well? Why did you choose to take that risk?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, like I have worked in multiple companies, both in startups and also in well-established organizations. Around that time, what I learned was that my skills and my temperament, I like to interact with various aspects of any product or anything, and more of a generalist problem solver kind of a mindset, and working very closely with people and trying to figure out very quick solutions, and so that tends itself better to a startup. So I prefer to work in a startup. So that was my first motivation. And I came to know through a common friend colleague that Bhaktha is looking to do something else. So I immediately called him and I said like I want to come and meet you. So I went and we met somewhere, I think like some social in Whitefield or something, I think. Yeah. So that's when actually we are not even decided what we want to do. So we were just thinking like we will do some technology in EV. So like one thing, maybe I'll elaborate a little bit more. Like we were thinking of, see, if you look at a EV, the core technology is mainly the battery pack, the BMS, and the motor. So these are the key for any electric vehicle. Rest of the things are like design and whatever application specific things. So we wanted to do something in both actually initially. So we were thinking we'll do
That's true.
something in the motor space and we'll do something in the battery space, not in the cell space, but we were thinking something in the BMS and in the interoperability. One of the ideas one of the things, problems we thought, which is still a big problem today, is that everybody is developing their own battery packs, their own BMS, their own charging everything. So it's like not very well. Now standards are coming and people are developing similar charging technologies and all that. But it is still a long way for that. So suppose Ether has built a charging network and somebody else wants to use it, it's not straightforward unless they use everything that Ether has used, starting with the connector and charging algorithm and everything like that. So we were thinking we can do something there. We had some initial idea, but then what we realized was it was a bit early for where the market is, and also like Bhaktha was saying, if you want to play in the battery space, it is $1 billion problem, and it takes a lot of capital and work on the chemistry and all those things. Plus, we also saw that there are a lot of very good players in that space innovating on battery technology and BMS technology. And we decided that motor is something that it's somewhat neglected, and we thought that we had the right skill to build the motor and the controller. And one of my background is that I've studied power electronics and power semiconductors in my undergraduate and my graduate studies. So it helped me, to take up the drive and electronics aspects of what we are doing at Chara.
Another thing is we also wanted to do something that has not been done before, right? Battery would have been just another company, maybe a big company. Wanted to do something new. Even today, reluctance motors are not deployed in EVs. So when we deploy it, it will not only be the first time in India, it will be the first in the world. So that was one more drive for us to. Took a while. I don't know how long it took. I can't remember. Maybe it took a year
to crystallize the vision.
To crystallize the vision. And it took another year to pitch the idea. It takes a long time. Something that is known, something that is lot of startups in India are copies of the business models that are from other parts of the world, primarily the West. So it's easier.
So you're like a known playbook and you're kind of just adapting it to the different market.
At the other extreme, we'll call Flipkart the Amazon of India, things like that. Not to take away any credit for Flipkart, but it's something that was known. They had to do a lot of things to make it work in India. But we wanted to do a deep tech company, we wanted to do something new, a hard problem to solve. Yeah.
You guys also sometimes believe that maybe having Ravi on your side was like a quick cheat sheet because he had like all.
Oh, yeah.
30 years
30 years
of experience.
of experience. And he was interested. And we said no. When we met, we had to find a person who breathes and lives and has done motors throughout his life. And we found Ravi through our my alumni network. And when I spoke to him, he was somewhere outside India, and he said, "Yeah, we should do this. There is a need." I think that is one of the um, positive externality that has happened for us. It has developed also is that the problem became more real. Initially, it was an idea. There is a problem that needs to be solved, which is made in India, designed and made in India, rare earth free, and of course potentially cheaper in the long run. And that is very well proven by all the inbound we get from customers. Yeah, we still don't have a sales department in Chara. We are working on it. Yeah.
I think that's also like a perfect segue to me for me to get to Amith, because right now I think for the most part all the business side of things is handled by Amith, right? I mean, knowing your story as much as I know, you were and still are like a thoroughbred entrepreneur. Right? You had your own business. You ventured into. I think you also worked before having your own business. If I'm not wrong.
Right out of college.
So you have had experience in both, like having your own business also, and also having worked in a sort of a corporate sort of a scenario, or maybe I don't know, it's a startup. It's a startup. That's great. So knowing what it takes to start a business, and I don't think the problem well the business that you had started, knowing what it takes to start a business, and also what are some of the things that might some of the things that you have to keep in mind to run the business successfully, right? You know all this stuff. So, what is that one thing that about Chara that that made you be like, okay, this is something that I want to get to and like start working again, all over again, and grow this business as if it's your own business, right? What made you do that?
Right. Yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I did not do it in my previous startup.
No,
No, absolutely. I mean, I'd say first, I would say comes the team.
I remember that. That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I did not do in my previous startup. So I knew how valuable that was. And it's not just the fact that they were funded. I mean, and I understand that you need to be able to raise that funds, which is in itself a capability. So, which not everyone or every startup does have. I mean, to all the Flipkarts and Misho or every other startup or billion dollar or a unicorn startup, there are thousands of other startups which are finding difficult to raise their first round of funding. So and yeah, more than that, the team also. I mean, I looked at Bhaktha, Mahan, Ravi's background. I mean, it was more about the product and technology. I mean, I'm an engineer by education. First two startups, I was hands-on building products. Right? I mean, electronics, software, mechanical, everything. So I mean, I could easily relate to the founders, and I mean, given their cred, I mean, Bhaktha having been the founder of EasyTap, raising I think 50 million. So I mean, that itself, I mean, that's like a proven product which you can depend on. So and then Maha's his experience with Harman, Intel, and again Ravi coming from Kirloskar being the head of design. So I mean, the team was like checklist. I mean, I had nothing to worry about there. So and the second thing was, yeah, I mean, like you said, it takes a lot to work in a startup, or I mean, to start a new business, new product, and to work in a startup as well. But I think I was kind of like adjusted to that.
Oh, okay.
Doing it for like 7 years, that felt normal to me. It didn't. I mean, it didn't feel like I was taking a risk.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing, the last thing I would say is, so previous to Chara, I was working on consumer electronic products. So though I was passionate about that particular idea that was solving, I never could imagine myself working for 20 years on that problem. But with Chara, I mean, since we are working on, making it better for the environment, I could just say, I mean, see myself, staying here, or I mean, working on a problem that's related to environment or climate change. I mean, for 20 years or even more.
And it's a long-term trend, and the whatever we are building here is going to become valuable as time passes by. So it's not a fad. It's going to have a long-term impact and a long-term profitability. So definitely this will help us. Like Bhaktha was saying, when we started, it was like a possibility, but now it has been validated multiple times over through all the customers and the investors who are interested in what we are doing. So it's that's why there is much significant longevity to what we are doing here.
Yeah, the energy transition is a multi-decade opportunity. Yeah, that part is true. Yeah, we can easily work on this product for 2 decades. It's already half decade, man. And we are nowhere. Right?
We're getting started.
You're getting started. The fun is just about to begin. Yeah.
Bhaktha and Ma are like, I mean, they're founders. I mean, their passion or like, their drive to, create this change is like at what be our next level. But even as an employee, I mean, I think if you find your work, if you enjoy your work, I mean, it doesn't feel like work, right? So, I mean, that's where the ownership also comes in. I mean, we believe in it, so I mean, we just take ownership of things.
Yeah, and I think I've experienced that as well. Switching gears to this question, right? Looking at at the entire climate change or global warming at a wider perspective, usually there's this scenario where people don't believe that unless and until it hurts them, that it's a problem that they have to worry about, right? Unless and until it's too personal, they don't have to worry about it. In a similar sense, looking at the business that we are in, every manufacturer out there at the moment wouldn't really consider a magnet in the motor a personal problem for them, unless and until some drastic change happens. So in this scenario, how are we predicting a business growth? It's an open question to all of you all, like whoever wants to answer it.
So, no, you're absolutely right. Unless there is a uh, personal pain, very classic sales theory, right? Unless you're solving some person's problem, even if you're in an enterprise sale, you can't make the sale. So that's why it is a little bit of a hard sell for us, and we have experienced that. But it is not. So two things I want to bring out is one thing is it's not for India at least. It's not only about the rare earth free motors. It's the designed and made in India motors. We now are telling customers are coming because we have control over technology, and also the geopolitics is changing, and I think that is aiding us as a positive externality. And also, climate is becoming a problem. So, I think even the man on the street is started getting worried that we need to do something about this. And the governments have also woken up. I think all those things are falling into place. Uh, but um, but one thing which I've told before is that for every business you get one opportunity, one big push. For EasyTap, it was and for many fintech companies, it was the demonetization. Yeah, it just pushed us into the next orbit. But we were there. We were there 5 years before that, right? So I think the same thing something like that will happen in energy. And again, it will lift all boats, whoever is in energy, right? Whether it is mobility or solar power or wind power, energy is critical for in a society, for an economy, I think. So that will happen. Yeah, we don't have any doubts about that. We need to be ready.
So the tipping point or the inflection point that Bhaktha is mentioning is now kind of within reach. Like the electrification has been attempted multiple times in the past century or so, but now it seems like there is significant traction. Like for example, two-wheeler adoption is coming close to like 10% in India. There are some European countries where all new cars are electric. So there is like significant. I mean, it's becoming a realistic scenario. And once electrification, even though it's happening in a big way, it is still at a starting point. And when electrification becomes mainstream, if we are 30-40% electric vehicles, then the demand for these magnets is definitely going to shoot up. So that is going to cause a major scalability issue. China problem or the geopolitical problem is a temporary problem, but the long term problem is going to be how are we going to make these magnets in a scalable, sustainable way, and definitely the cost of the magnets are going to go up multifold because it's a limited resource. It's kind of similar to like petrol and diesel in some way. So definitely whoever is looking at like a 5-10 year kind of horizon are looking at rare earth free technologies. So definitely people, it may not solve an immediate problem. Somebody wants to make a vehicle and launch in the next 6 months may have more higher priority things than to go with a rare earth free. technology, but people who are looking at sustainability and long-term platforms for electrification definitely think this is a important thing to invest in. So that's why even we met a company which is making motor controllers for permanent magnet motors. So he was like, they're also a startup. So it was like, being a startup, how can you think about doing something like a long-term problem? Like, you want to immediately show a revenue for your investors, but in some way we are kind of fortunate to work on a long-term problem, and the investors are also patient, give us the scope and trust in us to build for a long-term solution.
And also to add to Ma's point, it's not just EVs. I mean, globally there is a directive to improve efficiency
Yeah,
overall, of
actually.
everything. So now that adds to the problem. Now, if you want to make your fans efficient, your ACs efficient, everything will require rare earth magnets. You know what I mean? Like, so the scaling is going to become much more harder. How do you? When Africa starts installing more ACs, or the Americas, again, this problem is going to increase more. And so coming to this, the rare earth not being in the minds of the customer. So they have another problem, which is localization, right? So yeah, we are solving their problem because our technology is helping them. Helps us solve that problem. Localization and cost, because of the way, we are not using the rare earth magnets. We are able to localize the complete motor, and our cost is also less, because so though we are not, they're not concerned about rare earths, but at least we're solving the localization problem for a customer.
You think that is one of the main all the different segments? I think we're delving in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and even like tractors, tillers, and industrial motors as well, even
Right.
compressors as well. So in that space, when it's a more diverse sort of a set of customers that are coming to us, do you approach them in a different way? For, let's say, for an EV, the selling point is so and so, like it's a localization of the motors, or it's rare earth free. But when you, in contrast, when it's an industrial segment or an HVAC segment, is that the sort of selling point that you have?
Right, absolutely. So if you look at the EV segment, they have this directive to localize because of the FAME subsidy. And
Yeah.
but in an industrial setup, we're talking about the general or the operational cost of running a machine, again, which affects their bottom line. So they're having two different prioritization metrics, but again, we're able to solve both.
I'll quickly switch gears to probably looking at the EV market in general as a whole, right? There's a lot of collaborations that are forming between startups and the big players, the quote unquote big players, right? Hero has invested in Ather, Yamaha has invested in River very recently, and there's news coming out that Mitsubishi is partnering with TVS as well. So just wanted to gather your thoughts around it. Like, do you see the whole scenario changing from more stuff? I think in some time it was startups versus sort of the MNCs. Do you think it's more changing towards like collaborative efforts towards building a better future? Do you think that is happening, or is this a more business sort of dealing that is happening, if that makes sense?
So the so we lot of people think Chara is a EV company, but in reality we are not. So we are a motor company. So EV is one market segment. It is a huge market segment for industrial motors, which we already started. Then there are home appliances, water pumps, and everything. So what is happening in EV? This collaborations. It's probably a good thing. The large companies will get their know-how and capital and scale to scale up some of these companies. Um, I don't know. It's just my personal thing. I can't foresee that happening to us. I think we are not a product company. I mean, we're not a product company which is sold to the consumer. Yeah. So we are B2B. I think ideally we would like to grow on our own. We might have some manufacturing partnerships to scale up our uh, capabilities to manufacture large quantities and deliver. But the if we have a relationship with one large entity, I think there are good and bad things. Good is, of course, we'll get all the benefit of the large company. The bad thing is all the other companies will be afraid of us. So there is, I think we'll stay away from strategic relationships as long as possible. At least that's my thinking right now. Might change also, but right now we are fairly clear. I think we need to grow the old-fashioned way. Yeah.
And the other thing that I had here is the whole Tesla drama that keeps brewing up every now and then, right? Of them entering India soon. I think it's popped up recently again that probably the government is considering reducing the import duty on only if they sort of set up a manufacturing plant here. So, what's your take on that?
So I think it's good that the government is enforcing that this automobile manufacturers entering Indian markets should set up some manufacturing footprint here. This is like a very well played out strategy that China employed to ensure that their manufacturing sector grew, and also the know-how and the technology gets inculcated into the people. But whereas in India, significantly it was mostly like imported technology and largely like just assembly, chassis and selling. Even in mobile, that has been happening largely. I think that this is the right strategy in some way, especially for key segments like automobile and mobile technology and medical, these kind of things. Because it is imperative, because we have the skilled labor and the capability in India, but the fact that we are importing all this technology, it's not good for the country in the long term. So definitely it's the right approach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited as a consumer that Tesla is coming in, because I mean, the way they build the product. I mean, as a product guy, also I appreciate all the details that they put in building that product. And I was when talking to a friend in the US, so he was saying the reason people are buying Tesla is not because, I mean, the environment thing is a factor, but a lot of people are very interested about the product itself. Like you can turn on your AC before you come in. You can do it through your app. You can share share keys with your friends, relatives, and follow me back. I mean, yeah, it follows your parking it automatically, and I mean, it's just the user experience. I mean, that's why people are buying it.
So now the trend is like they're parking like 50 or 60 Teslas in an area, and they're doing like a program to like show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy the kind
Right.
of computer run
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
Coming to this, I mean, Tesla coming to India to manufacture. I mean, that will be a great opportunity for, I mean, us, because we get to learn a lot. So if you look at Tesla, I mean, as a company, they've been doing a lot of innovations in the manufacturing itself. They're doing this thing called giga castings, where they're, instead of having multiple sheet metal components molded together to form part of the chassis, they have like a single large casting. So I mean, bringing that sort of innovation to the Indian industry, I mean, there'll be a lot of people who would have worked in Tesla who will come out and then start their own companies. So that's what I mean. I look forward to.
Software who work for Tesla will improve a lot on their processes, quality, and learn the new manufacturing technologies, which will be a big win for India for sure.
Yeah. I think it's all in the details how much they will do in India. If it follows it is a luxury vehicle by most standards, even by Western standards. I think they cost about $50,000 to $100,000. So if we look at what happened with the luxury brands in India, I don't think we gained any technology. If you look at the Mercedes or the BMW or the Audis, that's why it's all in the details. If Tesla does the same thing, I don't think we'll gain much. Some rich customers will have a new toy. I think, I know it's a harsh statement. I would have liked personally for a smaller car to come into India. I don't know what is a smaller car. The West always builds big cars, maybe ID4 or something from Volkswagen, right? I think the India is
More like the MG, the smaller has that has come out, the
The
electric
Comet.
one, Comet. Comet.
I would have been I would have preferred that and see if or a large company like Tesla building something specific for India, which they will never do. Like iPhone will never build a cheaper, Apple will never build a cheaper phone. Uh, I still have mixed feelings about Tesla coming into India. Yeah, if I have money, I'll go buy it. But that doesn't mean anything. Like if I have money, I'll go buy a Mercedes. But so I'll buy a Tesla. So no big deal.
Yeah. But do you think we'll ever buy it for the company just to like cut it open and be like, what are the motors inside? What are they doing about it? Probably.
Yeah, I will do that. So I still have, I'm still not sure about Tesla entering India. I'm not sure. As I said, it's in the details. If they put a lot of this manufacturing facilities, then the whole ecosystem will grow. That there is no doubt. The ecosystem will grow, and that's the way it is. Maha said that's how China started, and that's how a lot of companies started. A lot of countries started. So the devil will be in the details.
So there is some kind of barrier, I guess, like if they want to go this luxury premium segment kind of thing, like what Mercedes or BMW did, then they will not have the volume to justify the investment
Correct.
to localize the manufacturing.
Yeah.
And if they don't localize the manufacturing, they can never bring the cost down to achieve the volume. So it's kind of like a catch-22 situation. So if they overcome the barrier and want to invest and grow this segment, and also the buying power of India is going up, which can cause some kind of a trigger, then that will be a really good thing.
Yeah, it's still they need to cut their price in half to sell it in India. Assume that a Tesla is about maybe $40,000 today. That's what people say. You can actually get it for 40. I think it has to come down to at least $20,000. But this is without the this one the taxes. If they are doing it outside, it's a little bit more complex. So I'm not really sure about why we need Tesla in India.
I think there is like some kind of a price barrier. Like
There's
if
a
they are
price
below
barrier.
a particular price, then not incurring all this import costs makes sense, and that will force them to localize their manufacturing and all that. But if they are beyond, like if they are at like 40K, which is I think like 25 lakhs, something like that. If there's somebody who can pay for 30 lakhs to buy it, they could pay 40 lakhs also, right? People in that segment, so they wouldn't mind keeping the imported model.
And we don't need like India solutions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which they won't do.
if they would probably if they come in here. I mean, that's when it makes sense for them, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They take the effort of just actually putting up a plant. In a petrol-dominated sort of a country, let's say mostly Gulf, what is the scope of an EV? Because usually right now, if you buy an EV right there, over there, people would laugh at you, be like, "You're crazy, what's wrong with you?" Probably moving into the future, do you think they will also transition to an EV sort of a future, or would they stick to their guts and still continue with their petrol-dominated sort of an economy?
Good question. Still never thought about it. Yeah, we had been to a couple of countries which are petrol-dominated countries, rich countries. They don't have any EVs in that country. Don't want to name them. Actually, it's a good question. I don't know what will happen. I think they will stick to this one as long as possible because that is their main source of income also at a country level. But for countries like India, it's very clear. We'll have to do electric both for climate and
Our own sustenance.
our own sustenance. Yeah.
But even the big petrochemical companies, right, like Shell or Petronas or any of the Middle
BP.
Eastern funds and all that, they are investing in these new technologies. They want to, hedge their bet
They don't want to be left behind. Yeah.
Ah. No, but his question was actually different.
The country.
He's like, whether the country will change, whether the common man in Saudi Arabia will buy an EV.
Would he want to also?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you saw that video from
problem is the economic problem.
Exactly.
you saw that G-Wagon video where it does that 360.
Oh yeah.
So now, I mean, can EV become as cool as more cooler than a petrol car in terms of a product? Right?
Yeah. So
Acceleration.
kind of an analogy to a horse, like how horse carriages, horse buggies, and where the mainstream transportation until the internal combustion engine came along. Today horses are not gone. People still use them for like race,
Recreation.
Yeah.
recreation, and some kind of fun kind of activities. Perhaps like internal combustion engine would be used for those kind of recreation, driving or racing, this drag racing kind of things which an EV can never do. Or one of my friends was saying he lives in a mountainous area in Colorado, and he says that EV can never produce the kind of torque needed to go drive through like like what is it, Forerunner or something, which can go through any terrain, but it's very difficult for the EV to do. So there will be some specialized application where people will still want to have a internal combustion engine. The other scenario that could happen, I mean, this is all wishful thinking because I want EV to take off because my company. But people could start making large scale ICE to electricity conversion. Basically, how we do burn coal to produce electricity. We can burn fossil fuel like petrol and produce electricity in a much more efficient way. If you do it large scale, definitely your efficiency of the engine inside the car or is very low. But on a large scale, you can be much more efficient, and you can use the same amount of petrol to generate a lot more energy and use that energy in an electric vehicle. So that's also possible.
So okay, this is some analogy that we had come up with. I can't even call it an analogy, but it's more like we're almost selling a sugar-free chocolate to a child and telling the child that it tastes the same. So it's difficult for a child. I mean, we are obviously upfront telling the child that hey, this is sugar-free, but it's going to taste the same. So obviously the child is going to be hesitant to try it out, right? So we are in the same space. So how do we go about it?
I think the damn good analogy. That is why we are having trouble with it.
Yeah.
So the children are addicted to the sugar.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know we can also question the analogy, but I think that it is very, very much true. You have to convince the child that it is as good as the
Sugar chocolate.
regular
chocolate.
but without any side effects of the sugar. Yeah.
And in the long run, it's better for you.
In the long run, it is better. Yeah.
That's our pitch, isn't it? That's literally our pitch.
Yeah.
I think
what we have seen is like those who had like some kind of aversion or hesitation towards eating our chocolate, so to speak, but once they tasted it, they are converts.
Absolutely.
Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So once they see, so they come with a mental model that this new chocolate is not so tasty, maybe not as chewy as this one.
Yeah.
But once they experience it, then they say, oh, this looks like the same thing. So, yeah, actually that part is true. Seeing is testing is experiencing is yeah. Actually that part is true. With a lot of our customers that has happened.
Don't knock it until you try it out.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's all that I have. We still haven't figured out a name for it, so I'll probably do like an internal poll. Name for the show?
Uh-huh.
I was like Chara on a couch, but I don't know if it sticks or not. We'll probably have it in the comments, or we'll probably have like an internal discussion, and we'll see
We'll come
once
with
it
our
goes.
Sanskrit name.
Yeah, exactly.
First.
Ah.
Chara Charitra.
Chara Charitra. I like that. Chara
It
Charitra.
can just be Charitra actually.
Could be that as well.
No,
All
that's
right.
what you wanted to do, right? No, what was that? No, that was
That was
Ihasa.
yeah.
Ah.
Charitra is like a story.
Story.
Even though it is
I think then that's it, guys. I think it's Chara, Charitra,
or just Charitra.
or just Charitra. Then, cool. This is all we had planned for today. We'll probably see you in the next episode, I guess. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.